Welcome back to JCarMania, the home of vintage legends reborn with modern engineering. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic names in Volkswagen's design history, now reimagined for a whole new generation, the 2026 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia Type 14. It's not just a rebirth, it's a tribute in motion. And in this review, we're going all in on performance and a quick look at what the interior brings to the table. If you're a fan of retro styling with next-gen precision, buckle up. Volkswagen's decision to revive the Karmann Ghia Type 14 after decades of absence is bold, nostalgic, and surprisingly forward-looking. Originally, the Karmann Ghia was more about curves and charisma than raw power. But this 2026 rendition flips that legacy on its head. Underneath its sleek, retro-inspired body lies a powertrain that puts it squarely in the category of performance coupes. This is not just a car that looks like it belongs in the 60s, it moves like it belongs in the future. Starting with performance, because that's what we're all here for, the 2026 Type 14 comes in two powertrain options. The standard variant features a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4, pumping out a respectable 265 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That might sound modest, but thanks to a curb weight under 3,200 pounds and a finely tuned 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, the car offers a surprising amount of agility. The Turbo 4 rockets this retro beauty from 0 to 60 in just under 5.4 seconds. Not bad for something that looks like it rolled straight out of a classic car magazine. But for those craving something wilder, the Ghia RS trim is the real beast. It trades in the Turbo 4 for a 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 pushing 390 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. This is where things get serious. With an electronically controlled limited-slip differential and VW's 4Motion all-wheel drive system, the RS model crushes the 0 to 60 time in just 3.9 seconds. That's Porsche Cayman territory, but with old-school class. The handling is where the new Karmann Ghia makes a statement. Volkswagen has clearly spent time fine-tuning the suspension geometry. It rides on a fully independent setup. McPherson struts up front and a multi-link configuration in the rear. The steering is razor-sharp, with electric power assistance that feels far more connected than the average GT car. Whether you're darting through city streets or attacking canyon roads, the chassis feels tight, eager, and planted. In corners, the Ghia Type 14 manages to strike a perfect balance between modern grip and classic flair. The RS trim even comes with adaptive dampers and 3 drive modes: Comfort, Sport, and Ghia. Yes, they actually named a drive mode after the car. Ghia mode sharpens throttle response, stiffens the suspension, and pipes in a throaty, artificial growl through the speakers. And even though it's fake, it still gives you chills. Braking performance is also top tier. The base model uses ventilated discs all around, while the RS gets upgraded cross-drilled rotors with 4-piston calipers up front. Pedal feel is firm, linear, and confidence-inspiring. You can really lean into the brakes going into a tight corner and the car responds without fuss or fade. That, combined with the near 50-50 weight distribution, makes it more nimble than most would expect from something inspired by a 1950s design. Now let's talk about what it feels like to be inside the new Karmann Ghia, because even though performance is king, the cabin plays a crucial role in setting the tone. Step inside, and the first thing you notice is how Volkswagen has seamlessly blended retro cues with cutting-edge tech. The dashboard is minimalist, sweeping, and features a center-mounted analog speedometer surrounded by 2 digital displays that mimic old-school gauge clusters. It's the kind of design that whispers heritage, without screaming, nostalgia trip. Materials are top-notch. Real metal trim surrounds the vents and switches, and there's leather everywhere, from the seats to the upper dash and door inserts. You'll find classic houndstooth inserts in the seats on the base model, a nod to vintage sports cars of the era. The RS version, however, swaps that out for suede-like microfiber with red contrast stitching, bucket seats with bolsters that hug you through the twisties, and a flat-bottom steering wheel trimmed in Alcantara. Infotainment duties are handled by Volkswagen's latest MIB4 system, displayed through a 12-inch floating touchscreen. It supports wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and the system is surprisingly responsive. There's even a retro-themed skin you can enable that transforms the interface into something that looks like an old radio dial. It's pure eye candy for car geeks. One really thoughtful touch is the inclusion of toggle switches on the center console for functions like traction control, drive modes, and exhaust sound. They're aluminum and click with satisfying precision, a tactile reminder of the analog age, even in a digital cabin. The gear selector is also styled like a vintage shift knob, although it's purely electronic. Space-wise, the new Karmann Ghia remains a 2+2, though like most coupes, the rear seats are more decorative than functional. Adults can technically fit back there, but they won't be happy after more than a quick city trip. That said, trunk space is surprisingly decent for a coupe, with enough room for a couple of weekend bags or a grocery run. The sound insulation is impressive too. While the engine roars when you want it to, cruising in comfort mode is serene, even on imperfect pavement. You get that Grand Tourer feel, but without the weight and bulk of traditional GTs. It's a car that's just as comfortable during a morning commute as it is tearing up a mountain road on Sunday. Volkswagen has also paid attention to aerodynamics without sacrificing the classic aesthetic. The modern Ghia features active grille shutters, a retractable rear spoiler, and underbody paneling to improve airflow. The result is a drag coefficient of just 0.27, which aids both efficiency and high-speed stability. Even with all that performance, the base Turbo 4 manages over 32 mpg on the highway, while the RS version still gets a respectable 26 mpg combined. Impressive numbers for a car with this level of output and all-wheel drive. Another performance element that deserves praise is the transmission tuning. The 7-speed DSG in both trims is crisp and quick. In manual mode, it responds with lightning-fast upshifts and satisfying rev-matched downshifts. It never hunts for gears, and in Sport or Ghia mode, it holds onto the revs just long enough to remind you that this isn't your average VW. And here's where things get even more interesting. Volkswagen is teasing a future electric version of the Type 14. No official specs yet, but rumors suggest a dual-motor AWD setup based on the ID platform, possibly with up to 480 horsepower and a range close to 300 miles. If that happens, the Karmann Ghia name could become one of the most versatile performance platforms in VW's lineup. But even in its current combustion-powered form, the 2026 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia Type 14 is a celebration. A celebration of heritage, performance, design, and emotion. It manages to channel the spirit of the original without becoming a caricature of it. Instead of just leaning on nostalgia, VW has delivered a car that feels purposeful, modern, and engaging. The new Ghia isn't just for people who remember the old one. It's for anyone who wants a car that stands out, drives like a dream, and feels like a piece of automotive art you can actually use every day. It's proof that performance doesn't have to mean cold efficiency or aggressive posturing. Sometimes, it can mean elegance, balance, and connection. That's the magic of the 2026 Karmann Ghia. It's not just about specs, though it's got them in spades. It's about how it makes you feel. And in an era where cars are becoming more and more like appliances, that feeling matters more than ever. So whether you're into vintage aesthetics, modern performance, or just something different from the crowd, the 2026 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia Type 14 might be the surprise hero of the year. It's beautiful, it's quick, it's sharp, and most of all, it's alive. Thanks for watching JCarMania. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the new Karmann Ghia, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more performance reviews and retro modern legends, and tell us in the comments, would you daily this beautiful beast? Or is it a weekend warrior for you? Either way, it's a piece of history you can drive today. See you next time.